Welcome back. In this next lesson, we are diving into something I think every data professional, every business leader, and honestly, every person who works with data in any capacity needs to understand. We are going to walk through 30 real world governance failures, not theoretical, not made up. These are the kinds of failures that happen inside real organizations, silently, repeatedly, and often at enormous cost. Now, 30 topics is a lot to cover. We are going to break this down into 5 focused lessons, each one tackling a specific category of failure. And we are going to move through each category with 6 real examples, clear explanations, and practical governance solutions you can actually see. So, where do we start? We start with the one category that sits at the very heart of everything: data quality and trust. Because here is the truth: it does not matter how sophisticated your analytics are, how advanced your AI is, or how much you have invested in your data platform. If the data going into it cannot be trusted, none of it works. Data quality is the foundation, and when it breaks, everything built on top of it breaks too. So let's get into it. What is data quality? Before we jump into specific data quality problems, let's take a step back and talk about what data quality actually means. Because this is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the entire data world. Data quality is really about one simple question: can you trust your data enough to run your business on it? That's it. If your data is complete, accurate, consistent, timely, and valid, then your dashboards work, your decisions make sense, and your customers get the right experience. But even if one of those dimensions break, everything downstream starts to fall apart. Think about it like this: data is the fuel of your organization. If the fuel is clean, the engine runs smoothly. If the fuel is contaminated, the engine sputters, stalls, or breaks entirely. And the tricky part is, bad data rarely announces itself. It hides quietly in systems, spreadsheets, and pipelines until one day it causes a failed report, a wrong decision, or an angry customer. Data quality issues show up in many forms: missing values, duplicates, wrong formats, outdated records, conflicting definitions, broken transformations. And the impact is always bigger than people expect. Bad data leads to bad analytics, bad data leads to bad decisions, and bad decisions lead to lost revenue, compliance issues, and frustrated teams. This is why data quality isn't just a technical problem, it's a business problem. It affects marketing, finance, operations, customer experience, AI models, and even regulatory reporting. Good data quality means your organization can move faster, make better decisions, and trust the numbers on every dashboard. Poor data quality means you are flying blind. And that's exactly why data governance exists: to make sure the data entering your system is reliable, monitored, and managed with intention. Now that we have set the foundation, let's walk through the most common data quality failures you will see in real organizations and how governance solves them. Let's talk about one of the most common and honestly one of the most painful data governance problems in real companies, which is duplicate records. You have definitely seen this in your own life. You sign up for a store's loyalty program, then buy something online, then call customer support, and suddenly you exist as a 3 different versions of yourself in their systems. Now imagine this happening at scale, thousands or millions of customers, and you'll understand why organizations struggle. Let me walk you through a real scenario. A retail company has 3 systems. In the CRM, the customer is John Smith. In the e-commerce platform, he is J. Smith. And in the loyalty app, he is John A. Smith. 3 names, 3 systems, but one actual human being. But the system don't know that. So what happens? Marketing thinks they've discovered three new customers and sends out three promotional emails, two duplicate coupons. And because the loyalty app has a slightly different version of his name, he even gets wrong loyalty points. Now imagine being John. He's confused, annoyed, and probably thinking, why can't this company get my name right? And honestly, he's not wrong at all. Why does this happen? Most companies don't have a single master customer ID. Different teams create records manually. Systems were integrated at different times by different people with different rules. And no one ever stopped to define what counts as the same customer. Sometimes it's as simple as spelling difference. Sometimes it's initials. Sometimes it is a missing middle name. And sometimes it's just chaos. But the impact is real. Customers get frustrated. Analytics become inaccurate. Customer counts get inflated. Your ship thinks white. You ship things twice. You bill people twice. And worst of all, your AI model get trained on garbage. So how do we fix this? This is where governance steps in. A strong governance team defines one official customer master record, standard naming conventions, matching rules, duplicate detection processes, and a golden record, which is the single source of truth. Then you bring in data stewards, real humans, who review potential duplicates and make the final call. And to prevent the problem from coming back, you implement master data management, MDM, unique enterprise identifiers, real-time duplicate checks, data entry validation, standardized onboarding workflows. When all of this comes together, something magical happens. Systems finally agree on who your customers are. Your analytics become trustworthy. Your marketing becomes smarter. And your customers feel like you actually know them. Duplicate records might seem like a small technical issue, but in reality, they shape the entire customer experience. And that's why governance matters. Now, let's talk about a governance problem that quietly destroys trust inside organizations: inconsistent definitions. It sounds harmless until you see the chaos it creates. Imagine you are at a bank, three different teams: finance, marketing, and sales. All use the term active customer. Simple term, right? Except each team defines it differently. Finance says an active customer is someone who made a transaction in the last 12 months. Marketing says it's anyone who logged into the app in the last 30 days. Sales says it's anyone with an open account, even if they haven't touched it in years. Now picture the executive dashboard. Three different numbers, three different stories, and suddenly nobody trusts the reports. Executives start asking, why does marketing say we have 1.2 million active customers, but finance say only 400,000? And the teams start defending their definitions instead of solving the business problem. So why does this happen? Because there is no business glossary. Teams work in silos. Definitions evolve independently, and there is no governance council to align everyone. The impact is huge: conflicting KPIs, executive confusion, wrong decisions, failed analytics and AI projects, even regulatory reporting risks. How do we fix it? Again, governance steps in with three key tools. First, a business glossary. This is the official dictionary of the company. Every important term, customer, revenue, churn, order, gets one approved definition. Second, data ownership. Each KPI has a business owner who is accountable for the definition. Third, a governance council. This group reviews and approves changes so definitions don't drift over time. And to prevent the problem from coming back, organizations implement enterprise data catalogs, KPI governance processes, metadata management, definition approval workflows, version control business terms. When you do this well, something powerful happens. Everyone speaks the same language, dashboards align, executives trust the numbers, and decisions become faster and more accurate. Inconsistent definitions may seem like a small terminology issue, but in reality, they shape the entire decision making culture of an organization. Let's move to another silent killer of data driven organizations, not having data quality metrics. This is where a company has no visibility into how healthy their data actually is. They don't measure completeness, accuracy, freshness, validity, or uniqueness. They just assume everything is fine until it isn't. Here is a real example. A healthcare company loads patient records every day, but nobody monitors. Missing insurance IDs, invalid diagnosis codes, late arriving records. Everything looks fine until one day claims start failing. And by the time someone investigates, they discover that 20% of claims have been failing for the last 6 months. That's not just a data issue, that's a financial loss, that's compliance risk, that's operational damage. So, why does this happen? Because teams focus on pipelines, not quality. There is no ownership, no observability tools, no SLAs for data, and no one is accountable for monitoring. The business impact is brutal. Hidden bad data, delayed issue detection, broken dashboards, failed downstream systems, lost revenue. So, what does governance do? First is it establishes data quality KPIs. For example, 98% completeness, less than 1% duplicates, freshness under 15 minutes. Second, governance introduces monitoring, automated scorecards that track quality every day. Third, governance assigns accountability. Data owners are responsible for meeting thresholds. And to prevent future issues, organizations implement data observability platforms, automated data quality checks, SLA monitoring, service level agreement monitoring, data quality dashboards, alerting systems. When you measure data quality, you control it. When you don't measure it, you lose control slowly, silently, and expensively. Now, let's talk about something every analyst has experienced: dirty analytics. This is when dashboards technically work, but the numbers are wrong because underlying data is unreliable. Here is a classic example. An e-commerce company wants to analyze its top selling products, simple enough. But the dataset has issues. Returns are not excluded. Duplicate orders are counted. Test transactions are included. So the dashboard proudly reports that product A is on the top seller. Executives get excited, marketing invests budget, inventory is adjusted. But in reality, product C is the one actually generating profit. The company makes decisions based on a lie and they don't even know it. Why does this happen? Because there is no trusted data source. Transformation logic is inconsistent. There are no certified data sets. Analysts create their own calculations, and everyone is working from their own version of the truth. The impact: wrong executive decisions, lost revenue, failed forecasts, AI models amplifying the bad data, loss of trust in BI systems. So, how does governance fix this? First, certified data products. Only approved datasets are allowed for analytics, which is transformed, cleaned, and production ready curated datasets. Second, lineage tracking. You know exactly where the data came from and how it was transformed from starting to the beginning. Third, standard KPI logic. Everyone uses the same formula. Fourth, testing. Data is validated before it hits production dashboards. Most of the times what happens is when you build a report and share with customer and ask him to validate the numbers, he looks at the report and then comes back to you and says, none of my numbers are matching with your report. Can you please check? So that means your data needs to be tested, validated before it goes to production. And to prevent future issues, organizations implement semantic layers, centralized transformations, data contracts, testing frameworks, BI governance standards. When analytics is built on clean, certified data, decisions become accurate, predictable, and trustworthy. Dirty analytics is not a technical problem, it is a governance problem. Let's talk about a problem that shows up when organizations rush. No data profiling. This is when nobody examines the actual characteristics of incoming data. No one checks null percentages, value patterns, anomalies, distributions, or outliers. Here is the real scenario. A manufacturing company integrates sensor data from a new factory equipment. They're excited, they want analytics so fast, so they skip profiling. Months later, they discover the temperature column contains text. Timestamps are inconsistent. Units vary between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Suddenly, analytics become unreliable. Models fail, dashboards break, and everyone wonders how did this happen? It happened because nobody profiled the data, as simple as such. Why? Teams rush to onboard data, no governance checkpoints, no profiling tools, assumption that source data is clean, the business impact is painful, pipeline failures, transformation errors, misleading analytics, AI training issues, expensive rework. So, what does governance do here? First, mandatory profiling before onboarding. No data enters production without inspection. Number two, metadata capture. Profiling statistics are stored automatically. Third, approval gates. Data must pass validation before it's allowed into ecosystem. And to prevent future issues, organizations use automated profiling tools, schema validation, drift detection, data onboarding checklists, metadata governance. Profiling is like a health check for your data. Skipping it is like launching a rocket without checking the fuel. How bad that is. Finally, let's talk about the problem that drains time, energy, and morale. Manual fixes. This is when employees repeatedly correct data by hand in Excel, SQL script, or email threads. Here is a real example. Every month, the finance team downloads sales data and manually fixes missing states, corrects currency symbols, removes duplicates, adjusts dates in Excel. This takes 3 days every month, and one incorrect formula leads to an expensive reporting error. Why does this happen? Because upstream systems aren't fixed. There is no root cause analysis. Legacy processes linger. Automation is missing and governance ownership is weak. What's the impact? Human errors, slow reporting, scalability issues, dependency on individuals, audit and compliance risks. So, how does governance solve this? First, root cause ownership. Fix the source system, not the downstream spreadsheet. Second, standardized pipelines. Automated cleaning logic replaces manual work. Third, change management. Controlled remediation process ensure consistency. And prevention comes from automated ETL quality rules, data remediation workflows, exception handling pipelines, source system validation, continuous monitoring. Manual fixes are a symptom. Governance addresses the disease. At the end of the day, data quality isn't just about fixing errors. It's about building trust. Trust in your dashboards, trust in your decisions, trust in the systems that run your business. When organizations take data quality seriously, everything improves. Customer experience, analytics, AI performance, compliance, and even team confidence. When they ignore it, the cracks eventually show, sometimes quietly, sometimes catastrophically. The truth is simple. Data quality is not a technical luxury, it is a business necessity. And the companies that master it don't just avoid mistakes, they move faster, operate smarter, and make better decisions than everyone else. So, as we go through each scenario in this course, remember this: every rule, every control, every governance practice exists for one purpose: to make your data trustworthy so your organization can be truly data driven.